Good morning, class 6 students. Today we are going to study about latitudes and longitudes, geography chapter 2. It's one portion already we have studied, but still, once again, let us go through this chapter from the beginning. In this chapter, we are going to study mainly about latitudes and longitudes and what is their importance. Why do we need to study about latitudes and longitudes? We need to study about latitudes and longitudes because they help us to locate a place on the globe very easily. All these are imaginary lines. Such lines are really not there on the earth. So with the help of a globe, we can easily study about latitudes and longitudes. So here is one globe. So before studying about latitudes and longitudes, let us study something about a globe. So we know that a globe is a real small model of the earth. And through a globe, inside of a globe, one needle is there. One needle is there and that needle is connected to the both ends of the globe. And that needle of the globe is called axis. On this axis only the globe is able to move or rotate. Globe is not at all fixed. Globe can be moved. Globe can be rotated like this. Different types of globes are there. Big globes are there. Small globes are there. Such different types of globes are there. So a globe is not at all fixed. It can be rotated on its axis. So inside of this globe, one needle is there. That needle is called axis. This axis connects both ends. This is one end and this is another end. Northern end is called North Pole. Southern end is called South Pole. Similarly, our Earth is also rotating on its axis. This axis of the Earth is also an imaginary line. Such an axis, such a needle is not there really on the Earth. This axis is an imaginary line. And when Earth is rotating on its axis, that causes for the formation of day and night. We know that day and nights are caused only because of the rotation of the Earth on its axis. When Earth rotates on its axis, the part of the Earth which faces towards the sun will be day and the other side will be dark. That causes day and night. So these are something about globes. And now let's study about latitudes. Latitudes are circles. Equator is the most important latitude. Equator is passing through the middle of the earth. It is a horizontal latitude. It is passing through the middle of the earth. It divides the earth into two equal halves. The part of the earth above the equator is called northern hemisphere. Northern hemisphere. And the part of the earth located below the equator is called southern hemisphere. Southern hemisphere. And in the northern hemisphere there are 90 latitudes. And in the southern hemisphere also there are 90 latitudes. All these latitudes are marked with a particular number, just like 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree. So the latitudes which are located in the northern hemisphere are marked with just like 1 degree with an English letter N. And that means in the southern hemisphere with S. S stands for south, N stands for north. So there are 90 latitudes in the northern hemisphere. There are 90 latitudes in the southern hemisphere. The part of the earth above the equator is called northern hemisphere, and the part of the earth below the equator is called southern hemisphere. These are something about latitudes. There are 90 latitudes in the north, 90 latitudes in the south, plus equator is also an important latitude. So here we need to study something about globe and also latitudes. Now let us study about important latitudes. Some important latitudes are there. We have already studied that. In the northern hemisphere, 90 latitudes are there. In the southern hemisphere also, 90 latitudes are there. Among all these 180 latitudes, some latitudes are very important latitudes. Let us see which are the important latitudes. First of all, equator. Equator is the most important latitude which divides the earth into two equal halves, which is marked with 0 degree. Equator is marked with 0 degree. And in the northern hemisphere, some more important latitudes are there. First of all, from equator, 23.5 degree north, one latitude is there, and that latitude is called Tropic of Cancer. That is another important latitude. And at 66.5 degree north, another important latitude is there, that is called Arctic Circle. Then the third one is North Pole. 90 degree latitude is North Pole. So from equator is marked with 0 degree. Equator divides the earth into two equal halves. In the northern hemisphere, other than equator, we can say that actually Tropic of Cancer, Arctic Circle, and North Pole. In the southern hemisphere, 23.5 degrees south of the equator, one important latitude is passing, that is called Tropic of Capricorn. 66.5 degrees south of equator, another important latitude is passing, that is called Antarctic Circle. And 90 degree latitude, one important latitude is there, that is called, at 90 degree, one important latitude is there, that is called South Pole. These are the important latitudes. Equator, Tropic of Cancer, Arctic Circle, and North Pole, Tropic of Capricorn, Antarctic Circle, and South Pole. These are the important latitudes. Now let us study about the heat zones of the earth. There are mainly three heat zones. In between equator and Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. We can say that in between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Between 23.5 degree north and 23.5 degree south, one hot zone is there, one heat zone is there. That heat zone is called torrid zone. This zone is always receiving too much heat because this region is equatorial region facing always towards the sun, and so there means always direct light of the heat is available on this region. Because of that, throughout the year this area will be high temperature region. And the second heat zone is temperate zone. There are two temperate zones. In the northern hemisphere also one temperate zone is there. Southern hemisphere also one temperate zone is there. In between 23.5 degree north and 66.5 degree north, temperate zone is there. That one region is there. That region is called temperate zone. Here sunlight, too much sunlight or too much hot or too much cold will not be there. This region is little away from the sun, and that's why here always moderate climate will be there, moderate temperature will be there, and that is why this region is called temperate zone. In the southern hemisphere also the same type of zone is there, temperate zone. So that is also in between 23.5 degrees south and 66.5 degrees south, a zone is there, that is south temperate zone. This is north temperate zone, and this is south temperate zone. So this region also, similarly, here also moderate climate will be there, not too much hot, not too much cold. And another climatic zone is frigid zone. Two frigid zones are there. One is North Pole, in the northern hemisphere. Another one is in the southern hemisphere. So between 66.5 degree north and 90 degree north, between this region, one climatic zone is there that it will be extremely cold throughout the year, because this region always receiving slanting sunlight. This region is far away from the sun, and that's why this region is always receiving very little heat and light of the sun. So throughout the year this portion will be frozen. That is why this region is called frigid zone. Climate will be extremely cold this region. So this is north frigid zone, and in the southern hemisphere also one frigid zone is there, that is between 66.5 degrees south and 90 degrees south. This is called south frigid zone. Here also sunlight is reaching in a slanting fashion, and because of that only little heat and light of the sun is reaching. So here this region is also throughout the year will be very cold, and it will be frozen. That is why this region is called frigid zone. So three climatic zones mainly between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. It is known as temperate zone, and Between Tropic of Cancer and Arctic Circle, North Temperate Zone. Between Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle, South Temperate Zone. Between Arctic Circle and North Pole, North Phrygian Zone. Between Antarctic Circle and South Pole, it is South Phrygian Zone. Now, let us study the topic longitudes. Longitudes are semicircles. They are 360 in number. One imaginary longitude, a vertical longitude, divide the earth into two equal halves. That longitude is called prime meridian, which is passing through the center of the earth, and that is marked with 0 degree. To the eastern side of prime meridian, there are 179 longitudes. To the western side of the prime meridian also, there are 179 longitudes. And 180 degree longitude and prime meridian, these both are common for both eastern and western hemispheres. 180 degree longitude is common for both eastern and western hemispheres. So 179 longitudes in the east of prime meridian, 179 longitudes in the west of prime meridian, and including prime meridian and 180 degree longitude. All there are altogether 360 longitudes. These are the longitudes. They are semicircles connecting poles to poles. And now let's see longitudes and time. Since ancient times, people used to practice or observe time by checking the movements of the sun and the moon. Every sun rises every day and sets down every day, and so sun is the best timekeeper. Here we are going to see about how to calculate time. Prime meridian of Greenwich. Prime meridian is passing through Greenwich near London. So based on the prime meridian, time is calculated in the eastern hemisphere and western hemisphere. When the prime meridian has the sun at its height or midday, all the places along the prime meridian also will have midday. And the places located in the eastern hemisphere will have ahead time of prime meridian. The places located in the western hemisphere, time will be behind time of the prime meridian. Let us see how it can be calculated. We know that our earth is rotating on its axis. For completing one rotation, earth takes 24 hours. That means 360. For rotating 360 degree, earth takes 24 hours. 24 hours. So, if it is so, in 1 hour, earth rotates 15 degree. That means, for rotating 1 degree, earth takes 4 minutes. For every 1 degree movement or rotation, earth takes 4 minutes. In such cases, when it is 12 o'clock in the prime meridian, how the time can be calculated? Let's see that. When it is 12 o'clock in the prime meridian, at 15 degree, for completing 15 degree east, when it is, suppose if it is 15 degree longitude, it is prime meridian, and for reaching this 15 degree, earth takes 1 hour. So when it is 12 o'clock in the prime meridian, at 15 degree longitude, time will be 1 p.m. Because for covering 15 degree longitude, it takes 1 hour. So, eastern hemisphere time will be ahead, western hemisphere time will be behind. So, when we calculate the time at 12 o'clock, if prime meridian is at 12 o'clock in the 15 degree longitude of the eastern hemisphere, the time will be 1 p.m. Similarly, and when it is 12 p.m. in the prime meridian, time will be 11 a.m. in the Western Hemisphere, because here time will be behind. It will be 11 a.m. in the Western Hemisphere. And that means when it is 12 p.m. in the prime meridian, at 180 degree, it will be completely midnight. So this will be the method of calculating time. Now let's see standard time. What is the importance of standard time? Every country will have their own standard time. Because if there is no particular standard time, everything will be, in a country, if there is different times, in different region, different states, different locations, different times are there, means all activities of the people will be collapsed. And that's why one particular time for one country is calculated. So this is actually, in case of India, let's see that our longitudinal extent is this one, 68.7 degree east and 97 degree 25 east. In between these longitudes only our country is located. So the longitude which is passing through the middle of our country is selected for finding out the time of our country. So it is 82.5 degree east. This is the longitude passing through the center of our country. So how it is calculated, let's see that. So when it is 12 o'clock or 12 p.m. in the prime meridian, what will be the time in India? That means our country is in the eastern hemisphere, and so what will be the time? So here that means prime meridian is 0 degree. From 0 degree we have to calculate the time 82.5 degree east. So our time will be ahead of Greenwich time. We have 5 hour 30 minute ahead time of Greenwich. So when it is 12 o'clock at Greenwich, in India the time will be 5:30. This is the method. In every country, this type of one meridian will be there. That meridian is called standard meridian for calculating the time of all the countries. So the countries which are located in the eastern hemisphere, there will be ahead time of Greenwich. The countries which are located in the western hemisphere, there will be behind the time of Greenwich. So the number of longitude, there are 360 longitudes are there. 179 longitudes in east of the prime meridian. 179 longitudes are there to the west of the prime meridian. And 180 degree longitude and 0 degree longitude both are common for both eastern and western hemispheres. So altogether there are 360 longitudes. And longitude and time, you have seen that actually there are 360 longitudes, and for rotating 360 longitudes, Earth takes 24 hours. So in 1 hour Earth rotates 15 degree longitude. So we have seen that in every country there will be one standard meridian, because if there is no standard meridian, or if there is no particular time for a country, all the activities of the people will be collapsed. People cannot move from one place to another place. Business activities will be collapsed, and movement of the people will be collapsed. That's why in every country one particular time will be set, and this time will be compared with the Greenwich time. And in India we have seen how time is compared, because when it is 12 p.m. in the Greenwich, in India it will be 5:30 p.m. because our time is ahead of Greenwich time, and that also 5 hours 30 minutes ahead, because we have to compare Greenwich degree prime meridian and 82.5 degree. This difference we have to calculate, and when we calculate we will get 5 hour 30 minutes ahead time. So all of you read this chapter very thoroughly and prepare your notes.